Hey guys, how's it going? Kevin Cleary here with a knife video for you. Today, I've got a first impressions on the Demko Knives AD 20.5. Now I've got the knife out of the box anyway, but I'll very quickly just show you how this ships. We're getting pretty used to this by now, but we've got a nice looking box, pretty decent design. Um, very dramatic wording, seems to borrow a little bit from Cold Steel on that. Um, but nice presentation in terms of the packaging, and certainly that's something that's a little nicer than what you're often getting from at least your typical US production company. Here is the knife itself. I happen to have the Warncliffe blade shape. Justin over at White Mountain Knives got some of these. I said to him, yep, send me one right away. And I pointed out I don't really care which blade shape. And so this is the one that he happened to send. I don't know if it was because he had more of these or if the other ones were all sold out already or what exactly the story was. But I will say I was pretty excited to get it. And I have actually used this and carried it a little bit. I'm a little remiss getting to this first impressions. As some of you will know, I do, as a bit of a side hustle, I do ski patrol for the winter, and it's been really busy between that and my responsibilities at the church. So I just haven't had even a few minutes to sit down and get a first impressions recorded. So we're remedying that now, but this is sort of a, I've had it for like 3 days or something kind of first impressions video. And I have to say that everyone's probably going to hate me after this because, well, I like this knife. I definitely don't love it. All right. So is it a cool knife? Yes. Is it a fidgety knife? Is it a capable knife? Yeah, it's definitely okay in all of those categories. And I do enjoy that shark lock quite a bit. However, there are a couple little things that sort of put me off here. And so let's first of all start out with what I like, because there is a lot to like here, and I want to start on a positive note. This is not going to be me just crapping all over this knife because I actually do like it. But it's not as compelling as perhaps I'd hoped it would be, although I should have known that. Okay, so the first thing I have to say, I love this design. I really think it's a great looking knife. I think it's really compelling, not only in this blade shape, but in the other blade shapes as well. I like the look of this knife in just about all its configurations and all the various color combinations that I've seen of it. I really like the design. And of course I like the design of the more custom 80/20 as well. All right, the slimness and the weight are really nice on this. Okay, so this is not super duper thick. It's fairly lightweight and it's fairly small overall. Now, this is, I'm sort of two minds on this. I actually would have liked to see this same sort of overall approach, but I would like it to be a little bit bigger. I really, anyway, we'll come back to this point, but the slimness in pocket is really nice. The lightweight is really nice. So the construction is not really something I'm complaining about here. I know that has been a matter of some complaint, but I actually kind of like this particular approach. So the design is cool, the slimness and lightness of this, the ease of carry, and of course, the biggest thing that is absolutely spectacular is that shark lock. The action on this is really great. When you open it, like, it actually feels like the knife wants to be open. It's really well done. So that part I have to say is exceptionally well done. The fidget factor on this is absolutely off the charts. So there's a lot of things that I really enjoy, in addition to the fact that I'm a huge Andrew Demko fan. So, that probably, I mean, that's probably partially why I like the styling, and certainly adds to the appeal of the knife for me. And that also brings me back to another sort of weird thing for me. The size kind of gets in my head, And because, I've got a few other Andrew Demko knives, I've followed him for a long time. I associate Andrew Demko with big, beefy, heavy duty, hard use type of stuff. And this I don't know, it feels very beefy. It's very confidence inspiring, but it's just not big and substantial feeling. And so that might be part of what kind of throws me a little bit with this knife. And that's purely my own bias coming through. So I wanted to throw that out there. Secondly, though, you guys know that I like larger knives. And so this is a little smaller than I normally go in for. And I feel like there's a couple things here. Blade to handle ratio is not amazing. And, being that it's under 8 inches, if you just extended this knife out just a little bit, got it up to 8 or 8 1/4 inches, I would be, I think, singing a very different tune. In this configuration, there's a couple little ergonomic hiccups that come up for me that didn't come up on the full size, and I don't think they would be there if this were just a little bit bigger. All right, so my hope is, okay, that this version of the AD 20.5 is just a forerunner of things to come. So I'm hoping that there'll be a 3.5 inch blade available. I think it could work really, really well. And at least for me, it would solve one little ergonomic hiccup that we'll talk about in a second. Now, having said that, I do want to, sort of respond to my own criticism here and point out that there are a number of things that are probably contributing. One, if someone likes a larger knife the way I do, they should probably be buying the full custom, although that's really expensive and not everyone wants to do that. And so this is much, much more accessible. Also, the full size, well, I really, really like it. It's almost too big. Like this form factor with the slimmer, lighter construction, I do really, really like that. I just like it to be a little bit bigger. All right. And yes, am I being a little nitpicky at this point? For sure I am, but it's kind of my job. I'm a reviewer. So, I'm supposed to I'm supposed to tell you my true thoughts, okay? And this is just where I'm at with this knife. Now, there's a couple other things here. Look, the Benchmade bug out is wildly popular right now, and the Para 3 is wildly popular, and so there's certainly a direction in the overall, you know, discussion here or in the overall community toward some smaller stuff. And so I can see, in terms of trying to appeal to a particular market, that coming into play as well. All right. Finally, I guess you could say maybe Demko didn't want to compete with himself with the full size, but this is important, I think. I don't know that matters because, in fact, most of the time, in fact, I think virtually all of the time, when you have a popular production knife, okay, when your production knife really takes off in the market, your custom sales do really, really well also. So I don't think making a knife that's too close to a custom that you already make is a problem. All right, now let me give you the actual numbers on this. In terms of size and weight, it's 7 and 7 7/16 overall, so just a hair under 7.5 inches, 3 inches on the blade length, 4.5 inches when closed. Okay, so that's the blade to handle ratio is a little wonky on that. It does have a decent amount of grip area, at 3.5 inches. I don't have any issue with that, and it also weighs 3.5 ounces, which is very, very good. You really, this is not a noticeable knife to carry. So that portion, again, I love how easy this is to have in pocket. Really, really impressed that way. The other thing is I have to complain about the materials just a little for the price point. Okay, I've got some other examples here. Here is the American Lawman. I kind of, it's a Demko design. It's a smaller EDC style size. Here is the Cold Steel Voyager, which, although is much, much bigger, has similar construction. The reason I bring these out is, number one, here's a Demko design with better materials for like $114, right? Really, really great knife. Highly, this is the easiest knife probably of all the knives in the world to recommend, right? It's just super strong lock, great materials, comfortable in hand. It's a huge, huge win. So the American Lawman, and it comes in at $114. The Cold Steel Voyager in drop point in this case is the same, very, very similar material. So Grivery on the handle, which is essentially like a reinforced plastic. We've got AUS 10 steel. Now, AUS 10 steel is very good. It's a big upgrade from AUS 8, but it's still not CTSX HP or S30 or S35 VN or something along those lines. The other thing, so here's a knife that has almost the exact same materials. This is like $65, and this is $149. Now, yeah, you're getting some nicer fancy packaging, but frankly, I can do without the packaging. It's just going to sit in a drawer at home. I'd rather that money go into the knife that's actually going to be in my pocket. So while I'm saying all this, I know that Andrew, if you ever watch this video, you can just tell me to shut up. Because I know you're selling 80/20.5s like crazy. They're sold out everywhere the minute they become available. So I get it. That said, I feel like this knife is really cool and really nice and really well put together, but you're definitely paying a premium for that Demko logo to be on this, right? And that's fine. I'm perfectly willing to do that. When you're an enthusiast, you pay for the designers that you love. That makes 100% perfect sense. You're also paying, of course, for the lock. And this is the most budget-friendly way to get into a shark lock, which is a really, really cool lock. Really, really cool. So I have to throw that out there that I'm not in love with the price point on this, and I'm not in love with the size overall. And so those two things do put me off a little bit. My initial thought is that this is a really, really cool knife. It's really well built. It's really capable. Um, I just, as soon as I kind of got this and held it in hand, I couldn't help knowing that it was designed by Demko, and even looking at the profile on the handle, I couldn't help comparing this to my American Lawman. And as I look at the two side by side, if you were forcing me to pick one of these, I would take the American Lawman every day and twice on Sunday. Like I feel like it's a much better option for value and performance compared to the 80/20.5. So that the Lawman does to me throw a wrench in the works. Now, obviously, you're not getting that really compelling shark lock, and if you want that, you're going to have to bite the bullet and pay the big dollars for it, because it's only going to come on the 80/20.5. All right. So what I will say is this: I'm holding out hope that in the plans for 2022 for Demko knives, there is an 80/20, I don't know what, light or whatever you want to call this. I mean, this essentially takes the cold steel light mindset and approaches this knife. And so, if Demko did this exact same thing, but it was, 3/4 of an inch longer overall, I think I would feel quite different. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention the ergonomic thing. So the way I grab this knife, this does end up kind of catching my thumb. I purposely have to move my thumb up or down. I didn't have that problem with the full size. The full size, when I reviewed it, my hand just naturally landed in a place that was away from the shark lock. And so that's what I think, that's the one thing that I think would be different too. If this was a little bit bigger, I would not be landing in that kind of uncomfortable position with the shark lock kind of catching the bottom of my thumb there in a saber grip. So those are my thoughts on the 80/20.5. I will use this, play with it, get to know it a little bit, and come back with a full review, including, how it's held up, what I like about the blade and its cutting performance, and some comparisons to other knives that I think are similar. All right. So that's coming in the near future. In the meantime, those are my initial thoughts on the 80/20.5. It's just a little underwhelming, but I still kind of like it. I know that's That's all. Sorry, guys. That's all I can say. The last thing I would say is here's one of the things I always think about in a review is would I recommend this to a non-knife person? And the answer to that is definitely no. This is an enthusiast knife. If it was just someone asking me, hey, I want a really good EDC folder, um, I think there's much better value options out there that someone who's never heard of Andrew Demko would benefit from. If you're a Demko fan, of course, this makes a lot of sense. If you want the shark lock, this makes a lot of sense. But otherwise, I think there are a lot of better things out there. There you go. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We will talk to you soon.